1, 2, 3. As they look back at high school and they're like, and you're like, people I used to think were cool.
Like, oh, like, does this feel nice? Like,
That's high school in a nutshell. You look back and you're like, that's so funny. Doing a girls chat. You want to introduce yourselves?
Hello, I'm Luca.
Maya.
Aleyah.
Just doing a little girls chat, and we want to talk about everything related to high school. So we have like a lot of topics.
Oh yeah, we're drinking wine. I'm drinking Pinot Grigio.
This is my Shiraz right here.
Prosecco spritz.
I finished.
Let's get lit.
We'll start with the pressure to fit in.
When you're kind of in high school and you're kind of working out how to be stronger in yourself and like making decisions and orientating yourself around the group, I like went really strong on that. I don't know, I was thinking about the criticism that you kind of get from trying to be strong as well when you're young. If someone wrongs you a little bit and then just being assertive and drawing a line with them there.
There's such a level of that. You don't want to draw the line too strong because then you come off as closed off or
exactly.
or you know, you're not very inclusive, but then if you don't draw the line, then you kind of lose sense of like stands for you, you know, and how you can have that boundary with people.
I think it's hard in high school because you're just around certain people, so I think you tend to make convenient friends. I was talking about this with my friend Bella today, but how in high school a lot of us made friends with people so we could like socially survive or like be invited to certain parties and stuff, because it's a whole network. Like if you know these people, then you'll be invited to this, and you might not even like those people, but you want to go to those parties or like be friends with that like bigger group. So different from school to school, but it's so complex. I feel like the whole like social everything in high school.
I don't know if it's just this area or if it's just that I didn't experience that going to high school in America for a bit, but it's a lot more inclusive where I was. Being here and growing up here as a teenager, it was very closed off. Like you have the Facebook invite group chat and
oh my god,
you need to ask if you can have a +1. Super hard to go. If you show up and you're not really close with them, it's kind of like uncomfortable because you don't really know anyone, people aren't that inclusive, like, but I just didn't have that experience living in the States, so I wasn't sure if that's just who I was friends with.
With all of the like being so judgmental of other people, are we just more self-aware and we're wanting to take the attention off of ourselves more so here?
I mean, it's interesting what can be considered cool here. Like I feel like what's considered cool here is so different to anywhere else.
Yeah,
it's and like it's so fucking niche. I can't even explain.
Like you quirky.
You're aesthetic, but you're also quirky.
You're like so chill.
No, it's not like quirky. It's like
smoking.
I do art, I go to the beach, I take photos.
Yeah, I do yoga. Shout out literally every boy in the entire chat.
Yeah.
What do you do with all of that? This is another weird thing, like no one fucking talks about the social group's popularity. Like we all know who the popular group is around here, or who's considered cool, but no one fucking talks about it. So what do you think you do with that when you're in high school and there's just so many social rules? Like what's your advice on that?
I think for me, it's so easy. I think this goes for any popular group or any group that you want to try to get into, is you really push yourself almost to another level where you fall into situations where you don't really want to be in, or you hang out with people that you don't really actually like or that make you feel uncomfortable. But you know, like we're all going to experience something like that because we have to find the balance between who it is that we want in our social groups or who it is that's going to get us this standpoint or this hierarchy in high school. So I think it's just, for me, if I could go back, I would kind of have the awareness of that, which is so fine. I embarrass myself a lot, or I did
oh my god,
haven't we all?
I put myself in so many uncomfortable situations, but there's also beauty in that because I gained so much. I learned who it is that I didn't want to be friends with. Like, I learned, okay,
you really find yourself in
you
that
really
situation.
find yourself. And it's weird because you wouldn't think that a situation like this is going to make me find myself or find my boundaries, but in a way it really does because you just realize. So I think that's a big thing for me. Feel fine in a situation like that. Like, oh my god, if I could go back, sorry, I just have so many points.
No, go for it.
If I could go back, I would tell myself that you were literally going to forget about these situations. You were literally really gonna forget about these people. Like, it is not going to matter once you're out of that environment or you're away from those people or you have time to like breathe and figure out who it is that you are. Then you can go back and you just don't care. I told myself that so many times, but like, fuck, I do not care. I do not care about these like weird times that I did or weird people I hung out with. Yeah, so I think that's all I really have to say.
Yeah.
I know it's so like, oh, you'll forget about it, but it is so true. And I even now have to remind myself that I will forget about this. I will forget about these people.
I think in high school, I actually read about this in a book, but it talks about how we have different centers. So like the most important thing in our lives that we may base our happiness or our worth or whatever from. And one of those, especially in high school, I think can be friends and social acceptance and where you are in the social hierarchy. And as Aleyah said, that just honestly, like high school is just this tiny portion of your life. And just having graduated last year, I'm only realizing that the tiniest bit, but I just feel so distant from it. Sometimes you need to have those experiences where you're friends with people that aren't right for you or toxic, or you try and fit in and it doesn't work out, to actually learn those lessons. And I think it's just all part of like growing up, and I feel like high school in general is just like a rite of passage, like we all go through.
It's like these experiences that you're gonna hold on to for life, you know, like remember that funny time, like you can laugh about them.
Just would have told myself to like not care, like literally don't care. Like I remember I was just so ego during school, and now just thinking about it, like just don't even care. And like the people I used to think were cool,
I know,
and like I'd always like keep my eye out for those kids, like you know, there's so and so, and I would be so like invested in like keeping up with what they were doing and stuff, because I thought they were so cool, and I was just like, oh my god. But like no.
Instead of like dissing people out, I feel like it's more what they were kind of putting out, and their mask is what was like, that's what we looked up to, like their attitude, not them as people.
Because
what their image was.
Because they look back at high school and they're like, I still do that.
So fucking like that.
Oh, I know.
Really laugh at. I'm like, nobody cares about this persona that you have. Nobody lives this shit. Like that energy is not going to get you anywhere.
No, it doesn't.
That's another thing.
The people that are still like that now are going backwards. Painful to watch them like disintegrate as human beings.
Can I get a chip?
Yeah, should we open the chips? It's chippy time.
But now I've come out of school and I'm learning how to...
We don't give a fuck.
We don't give a fuck.
I think for me the biggest thing was not analyzing people through the social hierarchy lens or what's cool in my area lens, but just as a fucking human being. How much do I enjoy your company? How much value do you add to my life? What kind of conversations do we have? What's your energy? Like, and that's what I think you were saying about going backwards, because at the end of the day, when you're just still in such a high school mindset about needing to be this or that, like people sense that. And you're never going to be able to have like full connections if you're not being your fucking self.
If you're just yourself, you are going to get so far in life. Look at a really confident person. You don't think twice about them. Whether they look a certain way or they act a certain way, if they're just confident in who they are, nobody thinks twice. How many times have you thought twice about someone who is so confident?
All right. Boys, crushes, and relationships. I used to love the feeling of having a crush and being excited to go to school.
Honestly, you might have to cut this out. Honestly, I didn't really have many crushes in school.
Really?
And then it's started to become a thing where I'm like, oh, am I asexual? We live in a really small town. And some people say I'm picky.
Who said that? I think this is a really great perspective to give, to be honest, because obviously there's people out there that are like, I haven't had a crush.
Yeah, exactly. So if you haven't had a crush, I don't know, man. I don't actually know what to tell you, but I'm just waiting until I can get the fuck out of here.
It's okay to have standards.
It's so fine to have standards.
Oh my god, it's like, the thing to do, actually. It's not just fine, it's what you should be doing.
On the other end, if you have a crush, like you can explore that as well. Just do whatever you want, it's all learning.
Yes,
pretty much.
This is the time to do anything because you won't remember.
And you get a free pass because you're young.
And everyone will be like,
she's 13.
The amount of shit that we did for our crushes.
The amount of shit I did like a year and a half ago for Sam. Alright, how about high school relationships? What do we think about them? Anyone have anything to say?
Oh, my high
Mya?
school.
I think it is a really good experience to have a relationship during school. I was in a relationship for like last year that I was in school. Dropped out in year 11. I definitely remember having like just crushes during school, and like I remember like walking past the classrooms. It's just all, looking back, it's just so funny.
That's high school in a nutshell. You look back and you're like, that's so funny.
I think also too is like each stage of life, each relationship will be very different. The person you were in high school and the relationship that you were in high school is going to be, you're going to be so different later down the
you're
track.
constantly growing with that person.
You're constantly growing, and even out of that relationship, like if you guys break up, like you have to remember that that relationship is going to be so small and in the back of your mind, because you're going to change and shape and grow so much, and you might not even be the type of person that's going to want a relationship like the one you had in high school. You're finding out what you like, you're finding out the type of person that you enjoy being with. You know, like I've had so many little like things in high school. Now I'm like that's not
It's
someone
so
I
weird that the guys that you went for, and like now you're like, I'm not even attracted to that
just don't
person.
know.
You just don't know.
You have no idea.
You don't
like,
know.
You just do not know what you
Yeah,
like.
you're figuring it out.
I remember I rarely had crushes on like the boys in our class or like our age. Like it was always the year above, or like the year above that, or the year above that.
I had a few crushes, and I mean, I always
Of course
the type
I
to
had
have long
crushes
crushes though, so I'd like just. I had a crush on for like
I
2.5,
remember
3 years.
What?
No,
I thought that lasted
do you
like a
remember
week.
Arian?
Oh my
Oh
god.
my god.
Like shout out and Arian. When I came year 3.
Yes.
Oh,
So,
who
like,
doesn't
physics.
fucking remember that,
I remember
Mya?
wearing a horsey shirt.
You know what?
And you were talking to Arian.
You were the. Maya was top shit.
Oh my god, Maya was top shit.
You can name drop him. Once Arian, it looked like I had 7 toes on 1 foot.
He said that. What a.
Year 4.
You always say the rudest
In
shit.
year
One
four.
boy told me I was ugly. Alright, let's move on. Talk about hookup culture, sex, and parties,
Should I
which
sit
I
this
don't know
one out?
how that relates. No, you share your experience. We need a diverse range
It
of
will.
perspectives. But
Yeah, look,
first thing I wanna talk about is parties and drugs and smoking and alcohol, everything around that.
Pressure is all I can say.
Yeah.
Pressure.
Yeah.
Pressure.
Extreme
Yeah.
pressure.
I feel like it's a lot worse in our area. Like a lot of people take drugs, and I think
cigarettes.
I mean
It's such a social thing too. Smoking in general is such a social thing. Not even someone who's addicted or someone who's not. Like, you can make conversations with the people by being like, oh, hey, do you have a lighter? Do you have a filter? Do you have a whatever? And you like have a conversation with them. You guys talk, and it's like kind of how you meet people is by smoking in a way.
Yeah.
Don't
Or
come
do
to
you want to
Virginity.
buy one of these jewels?
oh my
Oh
god.
my God.
Come on.
That's like
God.
America though, is the juuling was a really big thing. I think it might still be. But it's like, oh, can I hit that? And then you guys start chatting while you're like hitting his jewel.
I just had a very clear image of you doing
Yeah.
that. Oh man, like buff dude. Okay, well if we don't have much to say on that, we can move on. How about hookups at parties? What are our experiences? Do we like it? Do we hate it? Do we think it's fun?
I'd say no.
I've
had good experiences.
Yeah, I've had they're fun, but
Actually, yeah, I've had a good experience from that.
Still.
I've had
Very
actually
rare.
I had one singular good experience,
Yeah,
and that's
it's
all I'm
very
talking
rare.
about. I think hookups can be really fun. I think you shouldn't do it out of pressure if all your friends are doing
Yes,
it. But it can be
definitely.
really fun.
This is a really big one. Is they're like, you should do it. Like, go do it. Like, he thinks you're so cute. Like,
Yeah.
you're so quick. It's so much pressure, and you know,
Yeah.
your friends at the end of the day, they're not trying. I mean, there are people friends that are like that, but you know, they're not trying to pressure you to do something that you don't want to do. They just think it'll be a fun experience for you. Like, I've had experiences with a friend and friends actually who, you know, they're like, do it. Like, you know you want to, and there's a side part of you that does, but not all of you wants to.
Yeah.
So after, once that situation is over, there's a level of just feeling very uncomfortable and very, you know, you violated yourself in a way because you didn't actually want to do that. And it's such a pressure because I think even though there's a part of you that wants to go, if you didn't have all these friends being like, go, you probably wouldn't do it and you wouldn't act on it and you wouldn't get yourself in a situation like that. But in that situation itself, there's beauty in that because you learn.
same thing as like sex. If you're not like completely 100% into it, it's the same thing. Like it's
Don't
just the
do
same
it.
feeling.
Yeah.
And
Like,
when it's happening, oh my god, there'll be times where I'm not really wanting to do it, and when it's happening, I'm literally like,
You
I
kind
just
of
want to leave.
Yeah,
Like,
you'll
it's
know
like,
what's happening.
and you're like,
Yeah.
But I think it can go one way and then it can go another way where you just really do not want to be in a situation like that. You wish you hadn't put yourself in a situation like that. And you feel just so gross and weird and uncomfortable. Or it goes the opposite and you're like, okay, that was fun. Like, it was fine. I'm glad I did that, you know?
Yeah.
Do you mind if I take a break and watch this?
Go for it. Dying. I'm dying.
Turn it around. What is happening?
This alcohol is making me feel really weird.
So guys, we're taste testing chips on our mukbang.
I mean, but pressure to have sex.
Oh,
Cheers. Should we do a kampai?
Bye.
pressure to have sex. I didn't have sex in high school. Yeah, I didn't have sex in high school. I felt the pressure. I don't know, there wasn't really much pressure because I felt like I was resisting against that. I was like, fuck you, I won't feel pressured just because of stereotypes or whatever. Except there was a bit of FOMO, that if anything, there was FOMO. Like, if you guys were talking about like having sex or something, I know how that feels. If you haven't had sex and you're in high school, it's like, oh,
People are just talking
I don't have
about it.
anything to give to this conversation. You feel kind of worthless for like for 5 minutes.
Yeah, no, and then you move on, you're like, oh, it's okay.
Well, I think it's weird too because like it's such a different level of feeling disincluded. Do you know what I mean?
It
Yeah,
is.
It's like
not even.
there's feeling
Yeah.
in it, like not included, and then there's like that, which
Yeah.
is like
Yeah, it's a whole different
Yeah, it's like
experience.
You
of,
can't give
experience.
advice,
You
you
can't
can't
give
even have the
anything.
experience, like, and it's like it's weird because for me personally, who've had sex now, I don't think of anything differently of any of my friends who haven't had sex. Like I don't, and I know that none of my friends thought that either when I hadn't had sex. But it's like you feel like that so much. And
Yeah.
I remember feeling that so much. Like talking to my friends, I was like, oh, I don't have anything to say, and you just kind of sit there, and it's like, like I don't.
It's really
have anything to
awkward.
say, like,
And because it can be a
it's
trigger.
awkward. It
Yeah.
can be a trigger because there's almost can be social shame around it. Oh, you're picky, or you're this, or whatever, you know. and
You're a
it's
prude or
You're
yeah.
asexual.
But that's just all
You're
stereotypes.
asexual.
I don't think like that. I don't know anyone that thinks like that.
And even if they do, it's such a brief like, oh, you haven't had sex. And
Yeah.
then they don't even
Yeah.
fucking, no one gives thought to it.
Exactly.
Even if they judge. I think it's just such a big thing in high school to talk about, and because you're just having sex for the first time, it's so exciting.
Yeah.
So everyone's talking about it, and yeah, I have like a distinct moment in mind when everyone was talking about like not even sex, but just like blowjobs and fingering. I was like, never done that, didn't do any of that. I'm like, how about that?
It's really weird because like I didn't give blowjobs, I didn't give hand jobs, I didn't do anything with guys. I just made out, and like you know, there's girls who have had sex but do all that, and I didn't give my first blowjob till like after my boyfriend dumped that in actually. Oh shit! Almost a year because I just hadn't done that, and he didn't even ask me to do it, which was fine.
That's
but then
nice.
I did
That
do it,
is
and I was like, okay,
really
that's
nice.
true. Yeah, it's really
Actually,
nice.
that's not really nice, girls. Let's
That's
talk
the
about
best
standards here.
Yeah.
General human respect. That's probably one of the big reasons why I didn't have sex with someone in high school, because that's nice.
Went directly.
I'm feeling sick.
There's gonna be a lot of stuff you're gonna have to take out in this video.
And like what you said about
Secrets.
You can put that in.
That's
Who doesn't watch it, I bet you. And if he does, then I'm sorry.
Are you gonna put that in? Yeah, that's okay.
It's just if you don't feel comfortable, then and you're not gonna give a good one if you don't feel comfortable.
I mean, yeah, no, that's true. You gotta be
Because you're
into
gonna
it.
be like
Oh.
not really wanting to do it, and like admit like not really. Oh, like does this feel nice? Like you just have to be confident. You're
There's a lot you're gonna have to bleep out in this, but I remember, can I just rant a little bit here?
Including what Mya just said. I'm
Yeah.
not putting that in. But it's such a pressure to be a certain way in a relationship, I find, with your first relationship. And you don't even realize that what they said or what they did is wrong because it's like it's very new and it's very fresh. You don't really know the level of respect that comes with a relationship and two people making love until sometimes after or sometimes
I'm sorry.
months.
I'm being really immature when I said making love.
I knew you would think that. Anyway,
I say
continue.
making love. Ooh, making love. you don't even have much level of respect for yourself and
Yeah.
just being an experience. So you just don't know the way that you should be treated, and you don't know that, like with that experience, like you, of course that like hurt, and you're like, what the fuck?
But it's just that I didn't know.
You didn't know it was wrong. You
Now
didn't
I
know
look
it
back
wasn't
on that,
fair.
yeah.
Yeah. I would say don't do it if you actually don't want to do it. Like
Experiment, people. Experiment.
I have one.
Yeah.
Sit with it for a second. Really sit with it, because your gut is going to tell you. And the first instinct that you get, whether it's a yes or no, go with that. The best tip I could give myself back then was listen to Call Her Daddy. I have gained so many tips from that. I have learned so much. It has boosted my confidence around anything in terms of sex.
You know that like anyway.
I think for me, advice that I would give to my younger self or to people that are in high school is listen to your gut. What I was saying before, don't be afraid to ask your friends, ask your like people around you, like don't be afraid to talk to them. Don't be ashamed. I think that's really a big one. Try your best to not feel ashamed or to feel like you're missing out, because you will have an experience like that. You will have moments where your friends have talked about, you'll be in a moment like that and be like, wow, this is happening. Like so many times I'll be in a moment, I'll be like, wow, I thought about this so much and now it's actually happening. So just don't forget that. It will happen. And once it happens, it's not going to matter how long it took for you to get there, or it's not going to matter how many conversations you missed out on or how many moments you felt ashamed or embarrassed. Once you have that first moment and you have moments like that again, it's not going to matter. I think a really big one for me is just peer pressure in general, in life, in the way you're supposed to look. I really struggled with eating. This was such a big issue for me around my body.
Yeah.
And I think it's just something that I always try to tell myself is what I was saying before. A confident person, nobody thinks twice about. If you're walking on the beach in a bikini, and I always try to remember this, and even now I struggle with it so much. I'm not saying that I've recovered, but something that I always try to tell myself and something that I'm always trying to live by is if you're confident and you're rocking it, nobody fucking thinks twice. You are you, and it's not gonna matter. And you're not even thinking about what people have to say if you're confident. So it's not even gonna matter what you're saying.
I think energy above like physical stuff as well, because if someone is just so embodied in themselves, so confident, so themselves, like you're just like, what the fuck, who is this person?
You think they're like so,
like I want to be friends with them. Like it's
so
just
odd.
confidence, it's all in the confidence.
Yeah, but it takes practice to get
It does.
the confidence,
so much
of
practice.
course.
Still practicing.
You know, there's also kind of a level of fake it until you make it. Except if you, I don't know, talking to yourself in the mirror works for me. I'm like, you're confident, you're beautiful, I love you, I love you. And then if you talk to yourself like that, if you talk to yourself like you would someone else, then you'll get there eventually, because you're the only person that really matters in your reality. It's like when people talk to their plants. Or their bread. I've seen chefs do this. They like talk to their bread and they're like, you're beautiful. Tasty.
Oh my god.
We've tasted the difference at work when we make pizza. And it's so much better.
I love it.
You just talk about
Speak to that bread.
Speak to your bread. Honestly, just like not caring as much. Like just thinking about my high school self, like I cared so much about like such bullshit, and I just remember like comparing myself to everyone and just caring about like the stupidest stuff in high school especially. And when I left, because I left early, I feel that was a huge impact on my self-esteem and everything that I had to work on within myself, because like just not having that environment, just not having it like constant all the time, I just remember like feeling like and it's so interesting, like seeing is like you were girls just graduated and just like listening to you like talk about it, because it's literally what I like went through alone, or like, you know,
felt
whatever.
like you went through it.
But it's so interesting.
It's so universal.
You
know what? Yeah, that's the other thing. Like a lot of this shit no one really talks about unless you have really good friends. Like I always talk about this in my videos, but you feel really alone in all the shit you go through.
Yeah.
And then you seek out videos like this and you're like, fuck, like everyone feels like that. Everyone wants to be approved by like people they think they're cool. Everyone wants to fit in. Aw, I love you.
Maya. Group hug.
My advice would be my I mean, yeah, like, you're not alone is advice that I give to anything, because as I've gotten older, I always knew, like, you're not alone in things, but then there's certain things you experience and you genuinely feel alone in them. But it's so true that nothing you ever fucking experience, you were alone in. Like, I mean, in a way, it's interesting because I talk about all this stuff, and yeah, there's things and moments where I wish that I, you know, understood this more, but I'm just so grateful that I had that experience so I could learn. You're gonna remember this time for the rest of your life, and things feel so important in that time, like whether it be a boy or fitting in or your friends. But even 4 years later, you're like, shit, that really didn't matter at all. And so I think it's just like, yeah, getting some perspective, you know, not caring so much, but also realizing you're going through a very pivotal time in your life. This is a rites of passage time. You're going to be having a lot of your first experiences, whether it's getting drunk for the first time, liking someone for the first time, having sex, or whatever it may be. And I think just like trying to lean into all of that experience. And I think that just goes for life. Like everything you're experiencing, especially high school, just like trying to lean in and experience that, because there's going to be a day when you look back and you're like, fuck, that was a huge time in my life. I learned so much. This was like a crazy, like lots of first times. And I think it's hard to appreciate it when you're in it. Have fun as much as you can, because life isn't so fucking serious all the time. Just have fun.
Even in those situations that feel so serious, have fun in that.
Yeah.
It's so serious for you in that
funny.
moment, but it's funny, it's fun, it's a fucking experience, it's a lesson.
My wrap it up high school advice would probably be, I listened to my big sister a lot about high school fuck-ups and complications. I listened to my dad a lot as well. My dad's advice was really just to not give a shit, and it's not even like you're just doing classes.
It's not that
and
deep.
that's it. You're just doing, like, you're learning stuff, and you're learning stuff on all different levels, and you're literally growing inside of your body on so many different levels again. Except that's not your life. Your life is in the future. As soon as you get out of school, even, just fucking get out of there and go somewhere else. Start experiencing things, and you know, you can forget about everyone that you knew before. You can keep in touch if that's what you feel. I don't know, get out there and start experiencing different things.
Alright, well, I think, are we done? I hope that you got something out of this video. Maybe next time, one day we can remake it and I'll actually have people asking questions. That would be really cool.
Should we all refill our drinks?
Should we refill our drinks and cheers it? There's none left. We love you.
Really fun. I feel like this is a fun experience
really
for
fun.
even just us to have.
Yeah, guys, thanks for actually doing it. I really appreciate it. And I feel like this is really good.
Wait, what I was saying. It's been so nice to know a situation like
Sorry, I'm talking over you.
Anyway, it's nice having girlfriends
it's
that
nice
you
having
can connect with
and I
on this
haven't
level.
had a lot of girlfriends here being back in Australia. I had all my girlfriends in the States, but now it's really nice to come back, reconnect with Mya and Luca, besides Grace, and a few other people.
We do a trigger. I mean,
Fucking trigger.
Go.
Oh, cute.
Nice.
Okay. My sisters! Blowjob tips, let's go.
Okay.